On March 18th, there were a few hearings in the Delphi murders case, and one of them was a motion to dismiss the case filed by the defense, stating that the entire case against Richard Allen should be thrown out because the prosecution and law enforcement destroyed video interviews and exculpatory evidence for Richard Allen. So the transcript for the motion to dismiss came out, and it's 81 pages. Some of my subscribers have said they have difficulty reading or focusing, so they appreciate when I summarize these longer documents. So I have about 18 PowerPoint slides that are summarizing what happened at the motion to dismiss hearing. So what I'm about to read is a summary of what Andrew Baldwin asked Todd Click during this March 18th hearing. First up, these are the last names of the 3 officers who investigated the 5 or 6 Odinists. Click was with the Rushville PD. Ferenczi was with the Terre Haute PD and also on the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. Murphy is an Indiana State Police detective and also on the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. Click's responsibilities included conducting interviews and gathering evidence for 3 years from June 2018 until Greg Ferenczi was killed in July 2021. In June 2018, Ferenczi and Murphy interviewed the Odinist with the initials EF. Again, this is the guy who apparently talked to his sisters and said he was involved in the murders. One of these officers said EF has the mental capacity of a 7 or 8-year-old. After the Franks memo came out, EF posted on Facebook that he did not even have a car to drive 2 hours from Rushville to Delphi in February 2017. And he said, "What do they think? I used a turtle to get there." So Click was asked to operate the equipment for Ferenczi and Murphy and gave his opinion on what EF said, because EF is from Rushville and Click was a member of the Rushville Police Department. Later, Ferenczi and Murphy told Click they were looking at PW and BH and asked Click to find a connection between EF, BH, and PW. These are all these Odinists. I only use their initials because they've never been charged with anything related to the Delphi murder, so I'm trying to protect their privacy at least somewhat, although most of you know who I'm talking about. BH's Facebook had a photo with 5 men wearing Vinlander t-shirts. Vinlander is a group that practices Norse and paganism religion, kind of along the Viking culture. JM was in the photo and his uncle previously lived with EF. They interviewed JM and his ex-girlfriend. JM denied trying to recruit anyone from Rushville to be part of the Vinlander group with PW and BH, but people told Click that JM did try to recruit them. The ex-girlfriend had a cell phone with a recording of JM and another man kidnapping someone near Indianapolis, but they were unsuccessful at identifying the victim. I added an affidavit signed by Click on January 30th, 2019, referenced the ex-girlfriend and co-conspirator naming Mike and Wiener as the victim. But I guess Click was never able to identify the actual full name instead of a hot dog or something. EF's sister heard him make comments about things associated with the crime scene. Ferenczi and Murphy were going to try to contact Unified Command to obtain a search warrant for the residence of EF, but they never heard anything. Baldwin asked Click, was there any other connection he found between EF and BH? EF knew a man with the initials JC, who was part of an American Guard, and he was also a truck driver for Flynn Livestock, who made deliveries to Delphi. EF worked under the table for the truckers and went on deliveries. JM also knew JC. I added there was no direct connection cited between BH being at a rally with JC. Click testified that there were similar photos on the Facebooks of EF and BH regarding sticks and some other items. Attorney Diener, who is helping prosecutor Nick McClelland, interrupted and asked how this is relevant to the defense's motion to dismiss based on a missing audio interview of BH from 2017. Andrew Baldwin replied, Nick McClelland said the missing interview is not exculpatory for Rick or useful to the defense. Baldwin said it is useful to the defense. Law enforcement acted in bad faith and did not properly investigate. Baldwin asked if EF made any admissions about being involved in the crime, aka the Delphi murders. Diener objected to that question. Baldwin replied, quote, there's a hearsay exception against interest, and that's if somebody says that, quote, I was involved in a crime. That would be against their interest. Quote, I killed somebody. That's not hearsay. That's an exception to the hearsay, end quote. So I wrote here, it'll be interesting to see how Baldwin handles Rick telling his wife and mom, I killed those girls, if that confession is true. EF never told Click he was involved in the Delphi murders. In February 2018, Holman and Murphy interviewed EF, and when they brought him back home, he told Murphy something along the lines of, hey, if my spit is found on those girls and I've got a reason for why it's there, I'll be okay, correct? End quote. EF told another sister he was going away for a while. He had done something bad to some girls. He was on a high bridge. They placed sticks on one of the girls' hair to represent antlers. He was in a gang, and that he had a brother now. Stacey Diener objected, and Gull agreed that Andrew Baldwin was, quote, wandering far afield here. You said you'd get to the evidence. Let's get there, end quote. Baldwin replied, okay, after Richard, how much stuff was out there, in your opinion, that would cause a good investigator to think EF and BH were somehow connected to these murders, end quote. I added this part here. Why did Baldwin say Richard when he's talking about EF's confessions? Click replied, quote, it was the belief of Detective Murphy, Detective Ferenczi, and I that there was a strong likelihood that BH, PW, and EF had a strong involvement in the murders of the girls, end quote. I added, where is the strong evidence other than EF stating he was there? What proves that EF, BH, PW, or other Odinists were on the trails and in the woods at 213 when Bridge Guy kidnapped Abby and Libby? I have not seen any of that evidence presented by the defense. Stacey Diener objected again and said that Baldwin and Rosie, quote, have to show how we would know that this evidence is exculpatory in 2017, when the recording goes missing, in order to meet the threshold for materially exculpatory. We're not getting there, and it doesn't seem to be going that direction. And it's irrelevant to what was known in 2017, when the recording went missing, end quote. Andrew Baldwin was then trying to show that what could have been on the missing videos would have been useful to the defense and or exculpatory for Rick. Click felt this investigation was more compelling than what was in Rick's PCA for his arrest, so he sent McClelland a letter on April 28, 2023, to make sure that he knew about the work the three officers did about the Odinists. Stacey Diener objected again and said the letter was from 2023. A motion to dismiss for destruction of exculpatory evidence has to do with what was known at the time of the particular item of evidence being missing, lost, or destroyed. Baldwin replied, quote, if you're hiding evidence back in 2017, it might be something that you would do in 2023, and that's where this is headed, end quote. Click's letter to McClelland included, quote, I want to write to ensure you've been provided all of the information associated with the investigative efforts for your use in this case and for disclosure to opposing counsel as provided by law, end quote. Click did not hear back about his letter until August 2023 from Mullen, who wanted to meet with Holman and see Click's reports. Click was told that they would share evidence against Rick to put his mind at ease. He later met with Detectives Vito and Holman, but he felt they didn't seem interested in what he had to share about his investigation, and they never showed him evidence against Rick. When he left that meeting, he saw the Odinist BH in the lobby, which I guess he was being re-interviewed by Holman and Vito in August 2023. After the Franks memo came out in September 2023, Click was contacted by a woman who had a child with the Odinist JM, and she had JM's cell phone from 2017, and Click felt it could be very important in the Delphi case. Holman never followed up to get the phone, so it was given to Baldwin's law firm investigator. I added here that after this discussion, there was no talk about what incriminating evidence was on JM's phone in 2017. Next up, Baldwin went directly to presenting cell phone data from PW. He said the extraction date was August 12, 2023. Gull interrupted and said, quote, not one shred of this is in your motion. Your motion deals with a document dated February 17, 2017. It is an FBI report of BH, and February 19th, the interview of PW. That is what you have complained about in your motion, end quote. Baldwin replied, quote, this is the evidence to support the motion and to counteract Mr. McClelland's argument that there's not bad faith and that this is, and then Stacey Diener objected, saying that Baldwin had not even gotten to proving the BH missing interview or PW's interview was exculpatory for Rick. Baldwin said he was trying to make the point that PW's phone he brought to police in August 2023 only had 4 days of data, which showed he either cleaned it or got a new phone, so he was trying to hide evidence in 2023 and may have been trying to hide evidence in 2017. Gull replied, quote, then perhaps you should have pled that because you did not plead that in this particular motion, end quote. Stacey Diener said the prosecution had a witness to testify about whether PW's interview was recorded in February 2017. Stacey Diener prepared for the hearing based on the defense motion about the February 2017 missing BH interview that was discovered missing or lost in August 2017. She continued that there was never a February 2017 recording of PW's interview, only a written narrative. An exhibit was entered dated August 30th, 2023, which was an audio interview of BH. Baldwin said the February 2017 interview narrative was only about 100 words based on BH's interview. If there is anything different between the 2017 narrative and 2023 audio interview, that would prove the 2017 interview would be useful to the defense to show a changing story by BH. Stacey Diener argued the law is about 2017 when the original evidence went missing, not what happened in 2023. Baldwin replied, in 2023, BH was never asked about EF, JM, or BH's ex-wife, saying that BH confessed that PW was involved in the Delphi murders. In 2017, BH said he never met Abby Williams, but in 2023, he said he met her once. Stacey Diener said those statements are conjecture as to whether that info was helpful to police. Andrew Baldwin and Click are not on the inside of the investigation and, quote, they're making an evaluation from the outside and then transposing what Mr. Click knows from reviewing interviews that have been provided in defense or through his own investigation and its relevance as to what the law enforcement agencies knew in 2017 with regard to the interview of BH on February 17, 2017, and the time period between then and when the interview recording was lost. It's a very specific time frame. It's their motion. I don't understand why we're so far beyond it, end quote. Baldwin said the defense didn't receive videos for 10 months after they were owed to the defense, and almost 4 months after McClellan had Click's letter until he gave it to Baldwin and Rosie. Stacey Diener questioned Click. He said EF did not finish high school and is, quote, not a very smart individual, end quote. Baldwin said BH was never asked why he stopped being friends with PW. BH's ex-wife said, quote, that it had something to do with a ritual gone bad in a forest by a river, end quote. That was Baldwin saying that, based on what I guess BH's ex-wife said. But I added here, the murders happened next to Deer Creek, not a river. Also in late 2023, PW said in a YouTube interview that he stopped being friends with BH after he told BH that he had to choose between going to church with his family and practicing Asatru. BH then left PW's living room and they never spoke again. It was not in a forest during a ritual gone bad, according to PW. The next witness was BH's ex-wife. She talked to law enforcement twice about the Delphi murders. Stacey Diener objected and asked when she was interviewed. AB said, I think it was 2018. Gull interrupted and said, I'm sorry, I don't know how to make myself any clearer to you that you've made specific allegations in your pleading that you are held to. Calling witnesses up here that have been interviewed well past that date is not well-founded and it's improper. And if you don't have witnesses that are going to testify to these things, you're wasting everybody's time, end quote. Uh-oh, Auntie Gull is getting triggered. She's like, Baldwin, you tried it, I denied it. Baldwin replied, quote, there is an ongoing hiding of evidence, refusing to investigate, and this is what we're trying to do, end quote. Then there was a back and forth between attorneys and Gull and talking about the case law related to the motion to dismiss and showing the February 2017 interviews were exculpatory for Rick and law enforcement acted in bad faith. Baldwin said if BH's ex-wife was allowed to testify further, she would tell the following. Law enforcement haven't talked to her since August 2023. BH talked about the Delphi case to his ex-wife. BH said he and PW had a falling out over a ritual in the woods near a river because PW wanted to up the ante from animal sacrifices. PW, according to BH, committed these crimes. He is protected by powerful people. She saw on BH's phone girls that he knew that he posed on the ground with sticks and that she knows are runes on top of them. BH met Abby Williams several times. The defense rested. Next up, Stacey Diener questioned Mullen, who is currently the Carroll County prosecutor's investigator, but he was the Delphi police chief in 2017. He manages the evidence and makes sure the defense gets it. At this point, the court was interrupted when Baldwin's cell phone made a ringing noise. He said it was turned off, but now it's on. Oh, lordy. Exhibit 1. The FBI has the Orion system. So this was an Orion document detailing an agent's February 17, 2017 interview of BH. Exhibit 2 was a list of discovery given to the defense on February 13, 2023, including BH's interview report. Exhibit 3 was a screenshot of files in the February 13, 2023 discovery. In a description by Mullen about how BH's interview was no longer available, he stated the following. At the start of the investigation, it started at the Delphi Police Department, which had a new interview system and DVR. Officers would flip a switch on the outside of the interview room, which would illuminate a blue light to indicate it was recording. Then they would have to flip a switch when they were done. Mullen would obtain video from the DVR, which was on top of a filing cabinet, when officers requested it. Mullen was not part of the investigation, but technically he was part of the Unified Command because he was chief of the Delphi Police Department. In August 2017, Mullen went to recover a video unrelated to Delphi and noted the DVR was recording continuously and erased everything prior. Some of this explanation was kind of confusing to me. The last date of the interview was February 19th or 20th, 2017. So I added, what does this mean if it recorded over everything in August 2017? Mullen said, quote, somehow the settings had been changed in the DVR to only record when the switch was activated to record continuously, and we have no idea how it could have happened, end quote. The vendor said a power surge could have changed it. Interviews from February 14th to the 20th of 2017 were missing, but there are some still available from February 20th, 2017. I wrote, how is this possible if it recorded over everything until August 2017? Some videos are just missing audio. In the first days of the investigation, law enforcement would have a morning meeting, and officers would be given tips to follow up on. The blue light outside the interview room at the Delphi Police Department, showing that the DVR was recording, was not lit on the day he discovered it was continuously recording. Exhibit 4 was an FBI report following up on BH's work history on the day of the murders, which completed the investigation into BH. BH was not a suspect in the case in August 2017 when the video interview was erased. Mullen said during February 14th to the 20th, no one was considered a key suspect. Exhibit 5 was a 2-page FBI report of PW's February 19th, 2017 home interview, which the defense also received February 13th, 2023. Mullen does not have a list of all interviews, but if officers wrote reports, they should be in evidence. Recently, the state received interviews the state police had recovered because of an inquiry about an interview that had taken place. Stacey Diener said, quote, before the protective order for discovery existed, were there challenges to discovery and the transfer that were then alleviated by the discovery protection order, end quote. Mullen replied, yes, there were monstrous problems. The redaction of the data to remove criminal record information, social security numbers, phone numbers, anything that might identify personal info. So after there was a protective order on all this evidence, the prosecution felt like they did not need to redact all that information because they felt like the defense would keep it all private. Next, Baldwin said in August 2023, when Mullen and McClelland replied to the defense's request for BH's interview from 2017, they said they did not locate the interview, but they did not say it was erased. Baldwin and Rosie did not learn that until February 2024. Only in the past few weeks did Baldwin and Rosie get a report about the missing interviews that Mullen wrote in 2017, after Baldwin and Rosie had to request it. Another report talked about missing interviews from April 28th through June 30th, 2017, but Mullen said that was a draft and he thinks there is video but no audio. Baldwin and Rosie only recently received this report after they requested it. There was no log of the February 14th to 20th, 2017 interviews. Mullen did not re-interview any of those people after the August 2017 discovery of missing video or notify officers asking if they remembered who they video interviewed. There is no report detailing if the recovery software was able to retrieve audio for some interviews between April 28th to June 30th, 2017. There may have been people who submitted tips about BH and were interviewed about him, but those interviews were also lost. The evidence does not include video from BH's work that would show when he arrived or left work. Mullen said it was a practice for a lot of officers to request the video be retrieved from the DVR before the August 2017 malfunction. Next up, Stacey Diener questioned Mullen. He told Liggett, Holman, and Hammond about the DVR problems when it happened. He marked the drives not having sound when he gave them to an employee of Rosie. Baldwin then questioned Mullen about some blank files that were handed over to the defense. And then Baldwin questioned, but we didn't know about the April 28th through June 30th, those two timeframes of missing video, until just in the last 2 weeks. You didn't tell Sarah Luxembourg about that, did you? The answer from Mullen was, quote, I'm sorry, Mr. Baldwin, I didn't hear all of your question. Baldwin replied, you know what? It's late. I'm going to shut up. No more questions. Oh. At the end of the transcript, it had Gull's follow up on some other matters. Number 1, the state filed a motion for leave of court to subpoena Department of Correction records, aka Westville and possibly also Wabash prison, where Rick is also at currently. The defense filed a notice indicating that Mr. Allen's medical records Part 1 and 2 had been provided to the state, so does that take care of your request for the medical records? McClelland replied, no, we want the complete set of medical and mental health records to address those issues at trial, and so that is the reason we subpoenaed the Department of Correction. Issue number 2, Baldwin and Rosie filed a motion to compel and request for sanctions against the prosecution that needs to be set for hearing. Andrew Baldwin said he wanted Judge Gull to focus on the motion to amend, which focused on the things that were not satisfactorily explained or provided by McClelland. The next item was the third Franks notice and a request for a Franks hearing. Judge Gull said she will review, oh my God, why am I smiling before even finishing this sentence? Gull will review that and issue an order. You tried it, I denied it. Before they ended the hearing, Gull was going to grant number 1 to give Rick's medical and mental health records to McClelland, but Rosie objected. He said it was still within the 15-day notice period. The defense had filed a new request on the Department of Correction after they were reinstated, and they just provided that information last week. There was information available from the Department of Correction about Rick's medical and psychiatric reports that were new to Baldwin and Rosie. They would like a chance to review them before they agreed to disclose it to McClelland. The defense has 15 days to file a motion to quash the request by McClelland, but Rosie said the following quote, I really do believe that's probably not going to happen because I'm trying to be transparent with Mr. McClelland, end quote. So it seems like the prosecution will get all of Rick's mental and medical records from Westville. And that concludes the summary of the March 18th motion to dismiss hearing.